Hello everyone. We are the Group 5, and our topic is all about political self.
Hello everyone, my name is Janafit Dukay and today I am going to tackle about Filipino identity. Filipino identity is a Filipino dance, tradition, theater, literature, language, music, art, and cultural tradition. After 450 years of colonial rule, the Filipino intelligentsia began to wonder if indeed the Western legacy of colonial rule was the annihilation of the very essence of Filipino culture. Culture and traditions make up the Filipino identity since every country has their own beliefs, norms, culture, and tradition. We can be able to identify it because of their uniqueness. Our cultural example that we have been following for more than 100 of years are the following. In Cebu, we celebrate Sinulog as an annual cultural and religious festival. It is also a celebration of faith and gratitude in the honor of Señor Santo Niño, also known as Balaang Bata. This religious festival includes ritual and festival dance showdown, presentation to commemorate the coming of Santo Niño here in Cebu, and a lot of more. Another culture of the Filipinos are our tribes. There are a lot of tribes that are still existing in the Philippines today. Their activities are still practiced by their own tribes and generations to generations in order to preserve them. On the other hand, we as Filipino have our own tradition, and that is to kiss or bless our elders' hand when we see them. This is considered a respectful gesture that is still present nowadays. Another tradition is that before the wedding day, the groom and the bride cannot meet or see each other. In addition, the culture and tradition of every Filipinos are also made up from traits and values. An example of values is that we are known to be religious. Some Filipino families oblige themselves to go to church every Sunday or to have the rosary every 6 p.m. Another is we are known to be obedient. That is why some of our culture and tradition are still practiced because we obey the teaching of our elders. On the other hand, Filipino traits are the following: hospitable, resilient, optimistic, hardworking, and most importantly, creative and resourceful.
The Filipino cultures and values. The complexity of Filipino cultures is compounded as has been exposed continuous and various stream of culture from without. And this influence were not possibly absorbed into the into the Filipino cultures, but assimilate in the selective way. In this process of acculturation varied from region to region. Let us now differentiate traits and values. The traits is referred to as distinguished characteristic type typically are belong to a person, and the values is regard that something is held to deserve the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. And the Filipino values can best be seen from two aspect of personal and social relationship. Personally, the Filipino values more their honor and status than anything else. Majority of their honors rather than wealth. In decision making, the Filipinos usually consult and take into consideration the consensus of the family member as the feeling of those who are to be affected. Social Filipinos give it more emphasis on social relationship. In this can be seen through the hospitality and they give to their visitor and friends they love and to mingle with people, particularly with friends and relatives, and they engage themselves in mutual cooperation, which is the best picture through the bayanihan. And in terms of emotion of Filipino are friendly. They smile at people and also strong and resilience. Even the stranger, when they approach, they are warm and simple. Women in the world, in the Philippines, and highly regarded and respect, and they can be relied upon when it comes to family affairs. Stage and development of Filipino values formation. Uh, Number one, precondition state childhood. Number two, and the conventional state youth. Number three is post-conventional state adulthood. Filipino values translation is buti, pamantayan, halaga, and ganda. So, what are the Filipino values? The first is authoritarianism, pakikisama, utang na loob, bahala na, and amor frio, hiya, and personalization. Filipino are proud of being puspusang loob and resourceful and ingenious and know for their competence and optimistic resilience.
My topic for today is all about values traits in the community. So, Philippine values is defined by the way of people live their life as an influence of one's culture. Philippines, having been an archipelago, has not become a hindrance towards having a single value system throughout the country. In whatever part of the country you may be, one will find the same hospitality that Filipinos are known for, as well as many other values that have originated from our forefathers. The values of Filipinos have been looked upon by foreigners as weakness instead of strength due to the nature of how they may be abused and manipulated due to these values. But values are what makes up a certain nation both in growth and unity. Some may see that Filipino values as hindrance to the growth of the country, and yet others may say that this is what makes our country powerful. So, in order to understand these concepts, let us look into the different values of Filipinos and how they may be influenced to a person's growth. First is family orientation. The Philippines is known to be a family-centered nation. The Filipino recognize their family as an important social structure that one must take care of. They gave importance to the safety and unity of one's family. The Filipino is so intact that it is common for the members of the same family work for the same company. It is also common to find the whole clan living in the same area, as that the Filipino are afraid to be too far from their own family. People get strength from their family. Thus, a child may have several godparents to ensure his or her future in case his parents will not be there for him or her. They, they also do not let their elders live too far away from them. The Filipinos take care of their elders by taking them into their homes. Unlike the Westerners, the Filipinos do not send their elders to the nursing homes to be taken care of. They believe that when their elders are unable to live alone, the time has come for them to pay their respects and to be able to serve their parents, just as they were cared for when they were younger. Next is politeness. Filipinos are taught to become respectful individuals. This is mainly due to the influence of Christianity that tells us to honor both our parents and our elders. The use of po and opo when in conversation with an elder or someone who is older is a manifestation of how Filipinos respect their elders. And third is the hospitality. The Filipinos are very hospitable when it comes to their fellow men. They will invite their visitors to come into their home and offer them treats such as snacks and drinks after a long journey. There are also instances that the Filipino will serve only the best to the visitors even if at times they may not be able to afford it. They also go to extremes such as giving up their comfort of their own bedrooms for their guests and to the point of sleeping on floor just to ensure that their guests are comfortable. And next is gratitude. Gratitude or utang na loob is a very popular Filipino characteristic. One does not forget the good deeds that others may have done to him or her, especially at times of great need. This debt of gratitude is sometimes abused by those who have done well to others as they may ask favors, or things that may be either be reasonable or beyond the means of one's in the debt. Fifth is shame. Shame or hiya is a very common Filipino value. It is said that the Filipinos would go to great lengths in order for one not to be ashamed. Hiya has a great influence on one's behavior, or one will do everything, even if it is beyond his means, just to save the reputation as well as the families. The Filipinos feel pressured to meet the status of the society when it comes to economic standing. One indication of this might be a willingness to spend more than they can afford on a party rather than be shamed by their economic circumstances. Next is loyalty. Loyalty or pakikisama is one of Filipino value. Filipinos are said to be loyal to their friend and fellow men in order to ensure the peace in the group, and this is their basic sense of justice and fairness and concern for other well-being. Filipinos recognize the essential humanity of all people and regard others with respect and empathy. With this orientation, Filipinos develop a sensitivity to the nature and quality of interpersonal relationships, which are the principal source of security and happiness. Next is resignation or bahala na. Trust in God or a Thai concept of bahala na have been overused time and again. This ideal is used when a person does not what to do or is too lazy to do anything at all. This belief is to put faith in hands of maybe a sign of how religious Filipinos may be at the same time. It may show that the Filipinos are spirited, and that they are, and that they put faith, and that they put their life in faith's hand. Next is delicadeza. Delicadeza is a Spanish term which, when translated to English, means daintiness. It is defined as an act of being refined or delicate in or manners. But in a simple terms, it is commonly referred to as a sense of propriety, propriety, or how to behave rightly or in all circumstances. It is a sense of etiquette that was passed on to us as a legacy of the Spanish culture. Next is Filipino time, which means things get done whenever they get done. Official timing of the Philippines, dinner at 6 p.m. This is interpreted at 7 p.m. Filipino time. In some cases, Filipino deliberately set the time an hour or so earlier, knowing that the guests will arrive an hour or so late. In this case, the raw Americans are surprised to see that they're the first ones to arrive and the only ones that they're for the first hour or so. Next is mañana habit. The mañana habit is something that we have learned from Spaniards. The word mañana means or specified future time, also known as procrastination in plain English, or mamayana in Filipino. Next is negas kogon. The popular Filipino phrase negas kogon refers to the unwavering attitude of starting an initiative but fails continue it or lack of follow-up. It is generally viewed as a negative trait, and I do not know if there is any person who feels that this is a good behavior. Next is palabra de honor. Another value of Filipinos is lack of palabra de honor, which means verbal commitment by one person to another, agreeing to do or not to do something in the future. Next is colonial mentality. Anti-Filipino says that Filipinos, because of the colonial mentality, always prefer foreign talents and products to local ones. This means that mentality exists, but it is wrong to accuse us Filipinos as always practicing it. Colonial mentality, the thinking that foreign talents and products are always the good, the better, and best, and the local ones are of poor and no quality at all. Colonial because of our Spanish and American colonizer during the 4th century rule of the Philippines instilled of Filipino mentality, this belief that foreigners and anything associated with them were the superior, and the Filipinos and anything associated with them were worthless. And lastly is crab mentality. Crab mentality, sometimes referred to as crabs in the bucket, describes a way of thinking best described by the phrase, "If I can't have it, neither can you." The metaphor refers to a pot of crabs. Individually, the crabs could easily escape from the pot, but instead, they grab each other in a useless competition which prevents any from escaping and ensures their collective demise. The analogy of human behavior that is the members of a group will attempt to pull down any member who achieves success beyond the others out of envy, conspiracy, or competitive feelings. This term is broadly associated with cited non-constructive thinking rather than a unified long-term constructive mentality. It is also often colloquially in reference to individuals or communities attempting to escape a so-called underprivileged life but kept from doing so by the others attempting to ride upon their coattails or those simply resent their success. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone. I'm going to tackle about institutional factor. An institutional factors that is known to influence academic career is organization prestige. In addition, it has been suggested that prior experience in an excellent organization leads to future employment. In these studies implied that organization prestige should increase job offers for academic researchers and lead to higher expected utility, lowering the likelihood of exit. Prestige is a complex concept that encompasses several factors. First, prestige is associated with the availability of resources for research. In general, prestigious organizations have more and larger source of revenue, can invest more generously in research, and can maintain better facilities for individuals researchers to conduct state-of-the-art research. Example of institutional factor is a labor market. Labor market is the place where workers and employees interact with each other. In the labor market, employers compete to hire the best, and the workers compete for the best satisfying job. Example is social factors. Social factors are things that affect someone's lifestyles. This could include wealth, religion, buying habits, education level, family size and instructor, and population density. Second is economic factors. Economic factors are the factors that affect the economy and include interest rates, tax rates, law, policies, wage, and governmental activities. These factors are not in direct relation with the business, but it influences the investment value in the future.
Institutional factors. A developing country needs a minimum amount of legal and institutional factors in place. For example, a stable banking system, infrastructure, public health, a legal system to enforce legal rights, and a good education system. So, this means that the institutional is a process of developing companies. So, institutions are the one who help a company achieving company's goal. So, mao ni siya ang mga institutions na mo-help sa isa ka company na grow.
Good day everyone. So in this video, let's talk about democracy Philippine experience. Our discussion will be around concept of democracy, elements of democracy, characteristics that make democracy possible, feasibility of democracy, and disclaimer on democracy. Concept of democracy: a system of governance in which rulers are held accountable for their action in the public realm by citizens, acting indirectly through the competition and the cooperation of their elected representative. So dito natin makikita na dinefine ni Scott Meter and Terry the sense of accountability ng mga nasa gobyerno. sa mga tao mula sa atin, kasi in democracy we basically elected leaders in government. We elect leaders in government. Yun yung isa sa feature ng democracy. We elect them at the same time. These elected officials are answerable or accountable to us. Hindi natatapos yung kapangyarihan natin sa pagboto sa kanila. And sila ay nasa kapangyarihan, pero dito natin makikita na in democratic society or in a democracy, in the system of governance, these people power is accountable to us. So ang kapangyarihan ay nasa tao. So another concept from Huntington kung ano ba ang democracy. A political system where the most powerful decision makers are selected through fair, honest, and periodic election, in which candidates freely compete for votes and in which virtually all in the adult population are eligible to vote. So makikita natin dito in a democracy merong fair, honest, and periodic elections. Okay, uulitin ko ha. Ang isang democracy ay merong fair, honest, and periodic elections, kung saan yung mga tao or the candidates are freely to compete for vote. So pwede silang tumakbo wherein lahat ng mga tao is boboto. So dito natin makikita na ang demokrasya is merong fair, honest, inuulit-ulit ko to ha, merong fair, honest, and periodic elections. Yun yung dapat na merong dapat sa demokrasya and sa lahat ng candidates, kahit sino man yan, kung mayaman ka o mahirap, basta you're a person can participate or compete with other politicians or candidates. So yun yung democracy. Para kay Samuel Huntington, again, uulitin ko, I already mentioned it several times that in a democracy there is fair, honest, and periodic elections in everywhere. And every candidates, they are free to compete for votes. So let's talk about elements of democracy. So ano nga ba ang bumubuo or ano nga ba ang bumubuo ng isang demokrasya? So according to Magadia Ramos and Skajmet, pagsama-samahan natin mga ideals nila. So elements of democracy: institutionalized governance, structures and parameters of the government's exercise of power are spelled out clearly. Ano yung trabaho mismo ng gobyerno or ano yung power nila mismo? Nakalagay yung structure mismo ng gobyerno, ano yung kapangyarihan nila, ano yung dapat nilang gawin, malinaw na nakalatag. So that's our first elements of democracy. Second, representation of the people. Leaders represent to the people in the public realm and make decision on their behalf. Okay, yung ideals, yung aspiration ng mga tao, yun yung represent ng leaders. Okay, not his interest, not his personal interest, but them interest of the people. Third element of democracy: accountability of rulers. Leaders are answerable to the people for the behavior of the government. Kung ano man ang gagawin ng leaders in the government, they are answerable, they are accountable to the people. Meaning to say, Kung sino man ang nakaupo sa demokrasya, lahat ng ginagawa, they are accountable to the people. Ang mga tao meron siyang karapatan para mag-demand sa gobyerno, questionin ang ginagawa ng gobyerno. Dahil ang mga rulers or leaders in the democratic society, they are again accountable to the people. Sila ay sumasagot sa mga tao, yung interest ng mga tao ang mas importante kaysa mga interest ng mga nakaupo sa gobyerno. The last elements of democracy: presence of competition and cooperation, manifested through election and policy making. Dito natin makita na kahit sinong tao, mayaman ka man o mahirap, you can run for election. Tayong mga tao, we can join the policy making, or pwede tayo participate in the political process. Pwede tayong mag-suggest ng ideals natin sa mga leaders to make it as a law, or gumagawa sila ng batas base sa kagustuhan natin. And again, pwede tayong tumakbo no matter what happened. So, babalik ko lang sa number 3, accountability of rulers, bago tayo mag-move on to different slide. Gusto ko lang malaman ninyong lahat, or sana malaman nating lahat, we are the powers in the government. We are the power in the democratic society. So, malaya tayong questionin kung ano man ang ginagawa ng mga gobyerno, dahil ang ideals of democracy, or the idea of democracy, is the power resides to the people. In lahat ng nakaupo sa gobyerno, sila ay sasagot sa atin. So those are the elements of democracy. Let's talk about the characteristic of democracy. What does democracy have that makes it good? Universal suffrage. All are valid to vote. When we all say it included her men, women, lesbian, gay, etc. And even if you are poor or rich. Second, freely and fairly conducted election. It means the government need to meet before, during, and after election to ensure that the election is free and fair. Third, availability and observance of the right to speech. Some misconception on this, that they believe democracy is all about freedom of speech, but it doesn't end there in free of speech or even free election. Fourth, access to alternative information. It means that offering or expressing a choice that can provide insights beyond that which an industry regular that sources are capable of providing. Right to form and to join relatively autonomous organization. The freedom or the right to assemble of different interest groups, that we may create a group to fight our rights. And yes, we can do this in democracy. Responsiveness of government to voters. Said to be a responsive government when it responds to the demands of the public and consider it very much part of the government. Government accountability. We tend to forget that in an election or free speech, they haven't done this yet. The accountability of government to the people include democracy that all of them have responsibility in us. Alright, let's talk about the flexibility of democracy. Why does democracy is flexible, or what makes democracy feasible? We must know that there is no perfect form of government. It doesn't mean that even there is democracy, our country will become rich. It also doesn't mean having democracy, our country will become the greatest societies. We also must know that there is some country that is not democratic and yet they are okay. So what makes democracy feasible? The concept of all people according to bargain people who are sitting the position in the government, will they our powers are coming from us. It also means that they do not belong to sit there forever, and also not just will be sitting there, they are also replaceable. And why don't you think it's good? It's because of the concept of government political system. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It means that the more he or she will have the power longer, the more she will the accessible to corruption. Well, yes, not all, but there are some of them. The more power they have, the more corrupt they become. It is the one reason why democracy is feasible. So the last part of this is the disclaimer on democracy. So here are some of it. Democracies are not necessarily more efficient and orderly, economical and administratively than other forms of government. We know that the situation of the Philippines is not that the best, right? There is some country that is not democratic and yet they are rich. Just like Singapore, they have a limited democracy, but look at their country now. And also Saudi Arabia. Democracies are not likely to appear or more orderly, consensual, stable, or governable than the autocracies that replace. It doesn't mean that the country is a democracy, it will automatically be fine, and doesn't mean that in government it is easy to use. Some societies are not fit into the culture. They have, just for example, Iraq in the past decade, before they are involved by the US, their government is way better. So it means that is not immediately okay. Democracies will not necessarily bring in economic growth, social peace, administrative efficiency, and political harmony. It sums up that it really doesn't mean that not because having a democratic country will automatically be okay. It doesn't mean that the political space will be okay too. And in any form of government, it's not the perfect, but at least having those characteristic and elements will be see that democracy is not that bad at all. But then again, we have the choice to decide our goodness based on studies. It is okay having in the political system that our country will adopt, because democracy emphasizes and protects the power of people over the government itself. So that is the disclaimer of democracy.
Hi sir, my name is Daryl C. Galabin and my topic is citizenship. Citizenship is a relation between an individual and state to which the individual owes alliance and in turn is entitled to its protection. Each state determines the condition under which it will recognize persons as its citizens, and the condition under which the status will be withdrawn. What is citizenship? Citizenship definition: to be a member of a nation or country and to have full rights and responsibilities under the law. 3 ways of becoming a citizen. Law of soil. Law of soil. Any person born on American soil, either the mainland US or one of its territories, automatically becomes a citizen. Law of blood. Any person born outside the US to parents who are American citizens automatically becomes a citizen at birth. And last, the naturalization. A citizenship is a particularly member of political community. Citizenship is gained by meeting legal requirements of a national, state, or local government. A nation grants certain rights and privilege to its citizens. The definition of citizen is the status of being. The definition of citizenship is the status of being a citizen, along with the rights, duties, and privilege of being a citizen. An example of citizen is someone being born in the Philippines and having access to all the same freedoms and rights as those already living in the Philippines, who are classified as Philippine citizens. Under the 1987 Philippine Constitution, Article 4, Section 1, it states that Section 1, the following are citizens of the Philippines. 1. Those are citizens of the Philippines at the time of adoption of this Constitution. 2. Those whose fathers and mothers are citizens of the Philippines. 3. Those born before January 17, 1973 of Filipino mothers who elect Philippine citizenship upon reaching the age of majority. And 4. Those who are naturalized in accordance of law. Natural born citizens are those who are citizens of the Philippines from birth without having to perform any act to acquire or perfect their Philippine citizenship. Those who elect Philippine citizenship in accordance with paragraph Section 1 whereof shall be deemed natural born citizen. Here are some types of citizenship. For example, I am a natural born Filipino who was naturalized in other country. Can I reacquire my Filipino citizenship without losing my current citizenship? Former natural born Filipino who has been naturalized in other country who wishes to retain or reacquire the Filipino citizenship may apply for retention, reacquisition of Philippine citizenship. First one to RA 9225. Example, I am a foreign national with a Filipino parent. Can I apply for Filipino citizenship? Yes, foreign nationals who were born outside of the Philippines to a Filipino parent. For Filipino parent, note the parents must be Philippine citizens at the time of the applicant's birth. May apply for recognition as a Filipino citizen without losing the current citizenship of the applicant. That's all, sir. Thank you.
So the topic I'm gonna be discussing is the impact of religion to spirituality. So religion is considered to be important influences in successful personality development because they are primary way that culture promotes the virtues associated with each stage of life. So in religion, it is a most so successful way to influence the personality development because it includes or promotes the virtues to be applied in life, and it is also a system of spiritual beliefs practices or both typically organized around the worship of an all-powerful deity or deities and involving behaviors such as prayer, meditation, and participation in collective rituals. So, spirituality is a concern for sensitivity to the things of the spirit or soul, especially as opposed to materialistic concerns. So, spirituality is more likely in the inner self of us, or conscience of us. So, more specifically, a concern for God and a sensitivity to religious experience, which may include the practice of a particular religion but may also exist without such practice. So, basically, spirituality also includes or is affected by the religious acts or practices, and from those experience, it can improve our spirituality. And next is, so as far as what I understand from reading about the impact of religion to the spirituality is that I understand about the religion is teaching about on how to act or doing the good traits, while spirituality is only based on yourself on how to act in every situation. So basically, the religion uh, is because of the practices that we do in religion, we can apply it already, and by the spirituality is based on how we act in the situation based on the practices that we did. And you could be spiritual to some degree, but at the same time not all are religious, and there are also few religious people but are deficient in spiritual development. And lastly, the idea of religion and spirituality is like a rectangle versus a square. Within religion, there is spirituality, but if you have spirituality, it doesn't necessarily mean you have religion, says someone who practices both religion and spirituality. And that's all. Thank you.